I'm L.C. Lenz. I'm the president of the association here. And this is my wife, Louise. We've been here since 1995 in charge of this park. We went before the legislature and got this park turned over to us from the Alabama Historical Commission in 1995. So we've owned, people ask us all the time, who owns the park? Well, the LaGrange Living Historical Association owns the park, and we've operated. When we took over this park, all that was here was a caretaker house and a picnic pavilion and the little block building, which I've covered it up over here now. It's a observatory. That was the only three buildings that was here. So we found, after we took over this park, we found out that Chevron Oil Company had bought thousands of acres of land down in Tuscaloosa and Fayette County, and they had log buildings on the property, and they were going to bid them off. So we went out and looked at them and bid on them and got most of the ones that we bid on, took them down and brought them up here and put them back up, with the exception of this house here where we're sitting is the Woods house. It came from out here close to the LaGrange, old LaGrange schoolhouse. The Woods family cut the timber off their property and built a house in 1908. And so we took the porches off of it, the roof off of it, and moved it here. Was one of the first building that we moved here for a welcome center and a place to meet. We didn't have, our association didn't have a place to meet till we took over this park. And we were meeting in the fire department down there in the old Tabernacle building and different places. And so when we took over this park, moved this house here, this became our welcome center and a meeting place that we meet the first Thursday night of each month. And I'll let Louise probably have some things to tell you, but we have 3 fundraisers a year, but due to this COVID, we've not having the event in the spring, Recall LaGrange, and we're not having the haunted hayride. So the only activity that we're having as a fundraiser this year will be Christmas in the Country and our bake sale. We make a little money to keep this park. If it wasn't for our this funding that we get through different grants, and thank God for Louise and her ability to follow up on these grants and get us grant money, we wouldn't have the money to operate. People just think this place up here just happens, it operates itself. But this is big business up here. Operating a park such as this is big business. And it takes somebody that with experience to keep it going. And we don't know what's going to happen. Louise and I retire or get too old to do it. We should have retired many, many years ago. But, well, I did retire from work, but I've been up here, put all my effort into running this park since 1995. But we do it, it's a passion of love, and we do it and love to do it, and if it didn't, I wouldn't be here. So if Louise wants to say a few words, I know Brian has already told you all about how we got started. The association started in 1988 due to a guy that worked in Birmingham, traveling 157, seeing the signs on the highway, LaGrange College site. Him being a historian, he got to thinking, well, what's up there? And so one day he had his wife with him, and they rode up here to see what was here. And he said with tears in his eyes, he stood looking over the valley over there in the picnic pavilion and thinking about what a wonderful place, historical place this was, and the events that happened here. And the state was letting it go down like it was. And so he put a little article in the Times Daily paper that anyone interested in LaGrange history to meet at the library in Leeton at 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon. Well, when I read my Sunday paper, I said, after church, I'm going to go down to the library, which is hollering distance of my home there in Leeton. I said, I'm going down and see what that's all about. I shouldn't have went. I got hooked. I've been here ever since, and like I say, it's a passionate love. My kids, my children, they fuss at me all the time. Daddy, why do you do that? Well, I don't know. I just love to do it. And a person's got to do something. I'll be 90-year-old my birthday, and people said, well, you don't look to be 90. Well, because I keep my mind occupied. I keep busy doing things up here that normally that people retire, they don't do. But you got to stay active to stay young and keep moving. So we went to the library and formed our association in February of 1988, and came up here and seen the despair that this place was in, and the ditches full of trash all the way from 157 to the cemetery. And the first thing we wanted to do is clean up the trash where people, back then, they wouldn't take their trash to the landfill. They'd just bring a pickup truck load up here and push it off in the ditch. And so our president of our association, he had a loader and a dump truck. So we began to scoop out the ditches and clean the ditches and the banks off and carry that stuff to the landfill. There's no telling how many truckloads of trash that we hauled cleaning the ditches out and cleaning this place up. And then when we took over this park in 95, it had run down, the fence was falling down everywhere, and so the first thing we had to do is put a fence up around it. And the cemetery up there, the four-wheel drive vehicles was going through the cemetery, just tearing the tombstones up and running over the monuments up there and tearing everything up. And so the first thing that we had to do up there is put a cable up to keep the four-wheel drive vehicles out of the cemetery, and eventually we put the fence up. So we've been here since 1988, but hadn't been here at the park since 1995. We're back to 1988 when we formed our association. It was 15 of us met there at the library that day and formed our association. And out of the 15, it's 5 of us left. And one of the first things that we wanted to do is to clean the old cemetery up. It had grown up, it was a jungle up there. And we got a group together one Saturday and went up there and made a big showing the first day. It was so many of us, and I'd say it took 2 months of working every, I don't know, we just go up there at random times and cut a few bushes and cut a few trees, and finally we got the cemetery. It's in better shape today than it's been in 150 years. And the wall around the old Rick's monument down there has been on the ground, has been falling for the last over 100 years. I was reading a book a while back, some historical article, and that part of that wall fell due to lightning. And I can see on the monument where lightning had struck it sometime back. So lightning could have started making the wall fall, but the problem with the wall was that they used the chips. They chipped those blocks, hewed those blocks out up there on site, and that monument, part of that monument was finished up there on site. And they used them chips for a footing for the stone up there. And over time, roots and all that stuff, it toppled over, and the wall fell down. I'd go up there and I'd be so discouraged about, I wish I could put that wall back up, but you know, it's going to take a lot of money to do this. And my son-in-law, he owns a business and got people that work for him, and I was asking his guy that does his building planning and all, asked him what it would cost us to put that wall up, and he looked at it and studied it, and he said, "Elsie, it looks to me like if y'all helped us, it probably cost you around $60,000-$70,000. Well, I mean, LaGrange Living Historical Association don't have that kind of money. But thank God that we got in touch with some people, and they told me that if we would take it down, that they would put it back up. And that's kind of like sick 'em to a dog. I couldn't wait to get down to John Deere place and get me a tractor that had a bucket on it where I could lift those stones up and what wall that was there, pile it over here on the east side on the east side, and the west side on the west side, and dig it out of the ground. What was been on the ground for 100 years and done underground. A lot of them, we had to dig them out. But a friend of mine, he's passed away now, but he was my architect and engineer on the thing, and so I got me and thank God for Edward Underwood, John Deere place. He told me, said, "LC, go out there and pick you out the tractor you want." So when I asked him about paying for it, he said, "It's paid for." Said, "Just take it and use it." So he said, "How long are you going to need it?" I said, "A month." We just got started in a month. So I went back down there and I told him, I said, "Hey, I told you a month." I said, "We just got started good." And he said, "Well, don't worry about it, just keep it." So another month passed by, and I went down there and I said, "Well, we're not through." And they said, "How much time you think you got left?" And I said, 2 weeks at the most, we'll be through with it. And so sure enough, 2 weeks. So we kept the tractor two and a half months. And I asked him, I said, "I dread going down there and see what they're going to charge me for it, rent on the tractor." And so I said, "Well, I need to settle up with you. We through with it." And he said, "How about $500? I said, "Man, that tickled me to death." So we kept the tractor up there and took the wall down, and the people that, I'm not calling names, that put the, I guess I need to call names, but people that paid for putting the wall up hired a concrete block bricklayer group to put the wall back up. But beautiful thing, and now it's up all the way around it, and we got a marker in the laid Louise printed and I poured a stone. I think it's 15 inches tall and 2.5 inches feet long, saying when the wall was reworked, rebuilt, and the dates on it, and who done it. LaGrange Living Historical Association rebuilt the wall in 2015. It's in the wall there that you can read. Mr. Ricks died in 1853, so it cost him $5,000 to go to Italy and buy the stone and hire a sculptor to come over here and to cut it out. And I don't know whether they hauled it, placed it up there and all, but I think that it was in the thousands of dollars it cost. What?
It took 2 years. The sculpture lived here 2 years for the sculpture.
It took them 2 years to get to.
It cost $5,000 back in.
$5,000 to get it
It took
erected.
20 oaks of oxen, pulled it up the mountain, and kept breaking down and finally got it up here.
A little more about Abraham Ricks. He got here about 1818. Don't know exact year, but I could research it probably and find out, but that's good enough, 1818. And in our plantation kitchen across here, you can see that here. That was built somewhere around 1820. But Abraham Ricks, they say, had 10,000 acres of land. Well, can you imagine 10,000 acres of land? I can't. I don't know. Somebody'd have to tell me what it would probably take in a third of Colbert County I don't know how many thousand acres is in Colbert County, but 10,000 acres is a lot. I know that's more than I can fathom. But he was quite a interesting person. I don't know, it wasn't many plantation houses spared during the Civil War because they was burning all the plantation houses, but Abraham Ricks managed to keep his plantation house from being destroyed. People says he knew the officers that came through, and he was good to the Union. He would offer them food and give them hams and corn and meal. It's stuff that he had that he would share with them, and they would spare his house. That sounds logical to me, and it may have been both. He back then, if you was a plantation owner, you knew people north and south. So we were taking these buildings down Fayette County and Tuscaloosa County, these log buildings. We met Geneva and Raymond Bonner, and they had built a new home in the front of their ancestry home, log home that they were, Geneva was raised in, but she wanted to donate it to us if we would bring it up here and put it back up like we was doing these other buildings. So we brought their home up here, took it down, had a guy that agreed to take it down and bring it up here and put it back up. And that's what we use as a bed and breakfast. And we call it bed and breakfast. It's a cabin. It sleeps somewhere 5 to 7. And people come here from all over the United States and stay in that thing. We may get a call this afternoon, somebody from New York passing through, and they've seen it on a brochure or something, and they want to just stay in a rustic cabin. So they'll call us a girl from Canada, West Canada. And in fact, she was on an island off the coast of Canada. She stayed 2 weeks here. So people come from all over, all the states that I guess in the United States have been here. That's our bed and breakfast. It's $75 a night, which, you know, we're reasonable, and we enjoy people coming. And people says, LC, why do you and Louise do that? Well, it's something that the community can have and be proud of. That's the only answer I got. I enjoy doing it for the community.